Okay, for this video, we're going to put the sticks away. So there are two big things we're doing in this first year of playing percussion. One of them is learning how to actually play the instruments. Okay, right now we're focusing on snare drum or a practice pad. We need to be able to play the instrument, but we also have to be able to read music. Okay, all the playing skill in the world is useless if you can't read it. Okay, think about it. If you were an actor, you can be the world's greatest actor, but if I hand you a script and you can't read the words, you're kind of useless as an actor. You know what I'm saying? So we have to get really good at playing, but we also have to get really good at music. Now, at some point in middle school or high school, you're going to have to take a foreign language class. You're going to learn German, or you're going to learn Italian, or you're going to learn Latin. Learning to play an instrument and learning how to read music is a lot like learning a foreign language. You have to learn all the different structures, all the different rules. So think of this as learning a new language as we're learning to play the drum. Okay? So when we talk about how music is written on the page and how to interpret that, we call that music theory. Okay? So when we talk about music theory, we're talking about how to read and write music. Okay? And there's going to be a little bit of music theory in every single lesson we do. Okay? This week, in this lesson, we're going to start really simple with just the basics. So all music is written on a staff. Okay? A staff has 5 lines to it, and we count them from the bottom up. So the bottom line would be the first line, the next one would be the second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, etc. Now, when we're doing snare drum, that doesn't really matter a whole lot because the snare drum only has one sound, so we put all the notes in the same place. Okay? When we get to keyboard, it'll be more important to read where the note sits on the staff. Sometimes the note will be on the second line, sometimes it'll be on the fourth space, sometimes it'll be below the staff. Okay, for right now, we don't need to know that. Now, music is grouped into measures. Okay, measures are divide the music up using what we call bar lines. Okay, so you see on the page here, there's a bunch of vertical lines that kind of group the music or group the staff into individual segments. You can kind of think of this as like a sentence. Okay, each measure is going to be exactly the same length. Now, the next thing we need to look at is the time signature. The time signature is at the beginning of the piece of music. Okay, every piece of music will have a time signature. The time signature is like the decoder ring. If you don't look at the time signature, you won't know how to decode the music. For this first year of percussion, the time signature, we're going to keep it really simple. Okay, the time signature has 2 numbers. It's a top number and a bottom number. Okay, for this first year, that bottom number is always going to be a 4. That bottom number will never be anything else besides a 4. The top number will change eventually. Okay, so the time signature you see here, it's 4/4. Okay, and the way we say that is, hey, Mr. Miller, what's the time signature here? And I would respond 4/4. That's how you say it. If there was a 2 on top and a 4 on bottom, you would say we're in 2/4 time. Okay, each one of those numbers in the time signature tells you something about the music. Let's start with the top number. Okay, so in this one, the top number is a 4. That tells us how many beats are in each measure. Okay, so for every measure of music, you're going to have 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you're in the next measure and you start counting again. So when you're counting music in 4/4 time, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start over. 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. The bottom number tells us what kind of note gets the beat. Okay. And like I said, that's not going to change this year. That bottom will always be a 4, and that 4 means quarter note. Okay. So the quarter note is going to get the beat, and there's going to be 4 beats in a measure. So what is a quarter note? These are quarter notes. Okay. They have kind of an oval shape that is filled in, and then a line coming out of that oval shape. The oval is called the note head. Okay, and when we get to keyboard, it's going to be important where it sits on the staff because that's going to tell us what note to play. Okay, like I said for snare drum, they're always going to be in the same place. Okay, they're always going to be on that 3rd space for snare drum. So the note head tells us what note to play, and the stem is how we decide that it's a quarter note. Okay, if it's just the stem by itself, that means it's a quarter note. So each one of these quarter notes gets one beat. So I have two measures here full of quarter notes. So if I were to count this, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. I just counted that piece of music. Okay? Now, we don't play on every single beat. We don't always play. Okay? A lot of music is not playing. Okay? So, when we don't play, there's a musical term, there's a musical symbol that tells us don't play here, and we call that a rest. A rest is a musical silence. It's the composer is like the author of the music. It's the composer telling you don't play on this beat or don't play on this part of the rhythm. Okay? Quarter rests look like this. They're a little zigzag with kind of a C on the bottom. Okay? So a quarter rest also gets one beat, but you don't play on it. Okay? So here we have 4 quarter notes and 4 quarter rests. So you would play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you would rest for the next 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I just did something very important there. You're going to do this in the next lesson when we start talking about counting and playing. Okay? You still have to count the rests. Okay? I actually hate the term rest because it implies that you go to sleep. You do not. Okay? That's why I told you a rest is a musical silence. Okay? You still have to count through those rests. Those rests have value. They have a certain length. Okay? So you notice what I did was I whispered the rest. That way I'm keeping track of the beat in my head. So if I were to count this again, listen for when I start whispering. That's where the rests are. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how I keep track of what beat I'm on, but I'm not actually vocalizing the note. I'm not vocalizing the rhythm out loud. Okay? So remember the 5-line staff. Remember the time signature. Okay? It's very important that you remember what those two numbers do. The top number tells you how many beats are in the measure. The bottom number tells you what kind of note gets the beat. Okay? A lot of students struggle remembering what that bottom number does. That 4 on the bottom tells you that the quarter note gets one beat. Okay? Remember the term measure. That's the groups of notes. And those measures are marked by bar lines, those vertical lines that separate the music into measures.